All right. I don't know. Maybe introduce yourself. I mean, people probably know you, but maybe tell them something that they would not expect about yourself.
Well, I guess that's a tough one.
Tell them maybe history-wise, like how long you been riding. Maybe.
Well, I started out racing. I started out racing. Actually, I have a trophy on my shelf in the pool table room that when I was 10 years old I raced, and then it was kind of tough to get to the track, so it was kind of a situation where it was like, I can do this in the streets at home with friends, and my good friend, his older brother, and his friends used to ride, so we would follow those guys around, and they would be, they were bigger, they were in high school, they could jump curbs 180 and do all that, and we just got into it and started building.
Is that how you went into like freestyle, I guess you could say?
Yeah, and it was like, track was 45 minutes away, and it was like, it's not easy to get out there, your parents are working, and it's just that much more you got to worry about. And you know what? I mean, you got to wait in line to get it. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I rode trails back then. I rode whatever we could find.
Yeah,
started flatland.
Yeah. What was your first video that you were in?
Dorkin 2. That's pretty crazy because that to me is like a legendary video. And at that time and day and age, nobody was doing that stuff. And Mark Eaton, Kevin Jones, Brett Downs, Jamie McCulloch, all the plywood hood guys started. I read about those guys in the magazine, so I would go down a week of summer when I met them at a small local contest in Pennsylvania, Charlie's contest, and started hanging out with them, riding, and it was so inspirational to me.
What was the most whiplashes you could do it when you were riding flat?
Most I think I ever did down a hill was like maybe 12 or 13, but on flat ground I could do like 6 or 7, and that was when I was like 13. That's pretty crazy. 14 maybe.
What made you branch into ramps, or how did that change?
I think a lot of it was curiosity. I mean, I rode flatland. This is kind of a funny story. I went to in 1987. It was in April. I went to a general trick team show, and Fred Blood, Mark Roldan, Brian Belcher, a lot of guys watching this right now probably won't even know those names, but these guys were the guys in the magazines when I was younger. And I went there and I was doing some flatland. I would double decade. I was 13. I was a small little tiny kid, and I could double decade. I could reverse walk around, all this stuff that really the pros were doing. And Fred Blood came up to me and was totally amazed and got me in with the bike shop, got me on the bike shop team, discounted my first bike. That was crazy. That was the craziest thing ever happened for me. And then later that summer, the Haro team came to town. Ron Wilkerson, Brian Blyther, Dave Norrie. And right when they pulled up in the van, I double decade. Instantly, we were all just riding jam circle style. They pull in on double decade, pull it clean. And I knew those guys from the previous years they've come out and stuff, and they were just like, no way. And they had Bill Hawkins, the team manager, with them. And they were like, Dave, you get to a contest, we'll pay for your hotel, food, and we'll give you a bike. And I was like, this is Haro. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it. 1987.
How old were you?
13. So I rolled to Columbus, Ohio, 87. In that contest, it was insane. Just seeing all the guys you read about in the magazines, it was just, Dennis McCoy was my favorite rider of all time. Ron Wilkerson was, one of my favorite riders. Matt Hoffman, Mike Dominguez, Woody Itson. It's crazy. All the guys back then, I looked at all of them for different, what they did, and it was amazing, man. I couldn't even sit here and name every guy that influenced me a lot and inspired me. But
how about who? We talked about this earlier. Who do you think is someone that is underrated, that was part of the industry, that you think doesn't really get respect today, or people that don't know about? Maybe someone you want to talk about that, or a couple people, or
I would say the main man that changed freestyle forever was Ron Wilkerson, and I think that a lot of people, a lot of kids, don't even understand or realize what he did for the sport. Everybody was dressing in leathers, jerseys, open face helmets, uniforms. Showmanship, which was all good back then, that's what it was, but we looked like racers. Ron Wilkerson started the 2 Hip Series, which was the half-pipe event. He was wearing shorts, t-shirts. He was changing the whole sport. As far as I'm concerned, he made a huge impact back then.
More of a lifestyle sort of? Kind of
totally.
More style.
If you want to cliche it next to skateboarding, if you want to use that comparison, that's what he did. Ron rode with skaters. He toured with skaters back then. He did Swatch Impact Tour. He did so many things, living in California, his ramp that skaters used to ride. I mean, he was really basically changing over into what it was. Instead of unified and teams and all that stuff, he was the one that said, here's a half-pipe contest, it's loose, it's almost like a jam format. There was no age groups. Come and ride and have a good weekend. It wasn't about, you got to go there, check in, you got to act a certain way, you got to wave to the judges. No, it was a loosely ran event. It was what everybody did. I think that's
Or creative,
crossed over.
like creative outlet,
exactly.
sort of. Yeah.
And it was about as close to a skateboard vert contest. You know, everybody was dressed kind of the way they dress when they ride at home.
When we walk down the street. Who, I don't want to say who influenced you on vert, but like did the Flatliners influence you on vert, or did like any particular, like, I'm sure Matt, you know, just played a role and stuff, and like.
Yeah, Matt definitely has, but you know, the people like, you know, Josh White, Mike Dominguez, Ron Wilkerson for sure, Brian Blyther, loved his style, he was smooth, that's, you know.
Did you ever ride the Enchanted ramp?
Yeah, I did,
Did you?
once, only once, and it was when it was almost done. But I
Really?
was psyched, that was in 1990, when I went out for my first contest riding for Dyno, which they picked me up after the 2-hip contest in Long Island in '89.
Did you went for Long Island, California in that?
No, I didn't go straight. I was back in New York. But you know what's crazy though? The first phone call I got from GT, I was starting my first job washing dishes at a restaurant in Chittenango, New York, where I'm from. I was on my way down there, and they're like, "Yeah, call us today." I'm riding down to get on a payphone. I called Kim Boyle, which was in charge of the team for GT bikes in '89, and I just remember him asking me sizes for everything, and I'm going, "Yeah, this," and I was amazed because this was a full factory deal. It wasn't a salary or anything, but this was it. They were going to fly me to contests, and I remember going into my first day of work just so amped, like, God, I can't believe it. And I would just ride to work, ride home in the winter and everything. I'd be feebling ledges on the way home through the snow, and it was funny. But those days were awesome.
Yeah. Did you have any like points in the past, you know, like 15 years that like really greatly affected maybe not so much your riding but your life or anything like that? Or
well, I mean, I would say just the fact that meeting as many cool people as I did, and them kind of keeping you coming back, kind of thing. You felt like really close in the sport back then, where today maybe it's a little different. It's more spread out. It's more wide open, where people kind of have cliques, and it's kind of reminds me of high school now more than anything. You got the jocks, you got the people that do what they want. You got the guys that play soccer, basketball, football, and if you're not in with those guys, then you're not really cool. And I feel like, sad but true, I feel like the sports kind of come like that. Well, if you don't run your bike a certain way, or you do this, you do that, then you're not really fitting in, and you're not.
So that's what your definition of a jock is? Like,
I would say I'm a jock for sure, but I just don't have the jock mentality when it comes down to, you know, accepting people for closed-minded, I guess you want to say. I accept people. I don't care what they do, how they do it. If they're trying their best and they're out doing what they love to do, then that inspires me. If I'm sitting here riding the park with somebody that's not at the same level as me, they'll push me in ways that if I see them go for something that's hard for them, and I know it, and you can tell that their heart's into it, they're serious about it, then I'm going to say, okay, well, he's going for that, well, then I'm going to go for something that's hard for me, and I'm going to work. I like that, because the best thing to me is somebody trying their best and believing in it, not just coming out riding for the sake of riding the bike, and you can tell they're not really into it. I like people that are into it and then are saying, you know what, it's all or nothing for me as well,
right.
And that motivates me. So my definition really is, of that mentality is basically judgment. Judging somebody because their bike may be set up different than yours, and you say, well, he's not cool, or he's selling out because he rides for this, or it's like, you know what, that shouldn't matter, because nobody sells out.
Like a fearful thing, like their fear of, obviously we're all afraid of something that we're not sure of, you know, but like.
But just, it's just, you know what I'm saying though, it's just, I guess that irks me more than anything, because it's whose business is yours other than yours. If you're hurting somebody, I could see, but if you're doing what you want to do, then what is it really hurting? If it's hurting yourself, then let it be. If you're doing something that is going to hurt you or hurt your image, then why would I care? You know what I mean? Right. And nobody's doing that. Our sport is, you know, if you want to call it a sport, art form, hobby, whatever definition it is, and whatever way you see it in your eyes, it shouldn't be, you know, pulled apart and kind of analyzed. Well, it's sport, now that's like football team. Well, there's a lot of attitudes like that. I think that when I think me going through school, I rode a bike when it wasn't cool to ride a bike, and I feel that I broke down a lot of barriers believing in what I did back then. You know, we all went into high school. Everybody that used to ride quit, and conveniently it was like, we're gonna ride that bike forever. I heard it all, man. I heard, you know, I had a 6th grade teacher telling me, you know, I'm never gonna go anywhere on a bike. The class laughed. And, you know, people that have seen me have heard that story before, but it's true, and it's like, maybe that's the reason why I succeeded as well, because you know what, it was like, I believe in what I like to do, and for these people to make fun of me for something I like to do, it's almost like I went more out of my way to make sure they knew exactly what I loved, and not just try to hide behind everybody and just on the side did what I love to do and try to No, I made sure they knew what I loved
How'd
to
you?
do.
Yeah, like we talked about it. Like in the '80s, it wasn't cool to be a bike rider. It wasn't
Yeah.
the in thing. You know, it got a little popular, but like for the most part, people were accepting of it. And now it seems like
It's
you
popular.
know, yeah, it's definitely a popular thing, and it's not so bad to be a rider. Do you think? Like I don't know, I'm gonna go with this question, but I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Well, there's
or, like,
kids that can go to school now and you ride a bike and you're doing what you love to do, and people respect that now because now they see it on TV and they know. And I don't care what anybody says, TV does a lot for everything. I mean, it is. I mean, what's better than TV to get anything out there as far as exposure? So I'm really happy with ESPN and what they've done, and they've come in and, you know, for anybody getting into whether you want to do contests or not, it's still accepted. I mean, there's parents that come up to me and say, you know what, Dave, what you've done is so awesome, and now they support their kid. There was so many kids back in the day, and you know this,
Yeah.
you probably had friends that their parents didn't support it and said, you're not going to ride that bike, go to college. Play baseball, play basketball, and it was like, no, I don't want to do that. But support from your family and friends and even other people that you don't even really care about, it still feels good to know that you're embraced with support and you can do what you want. You don't have to worry about, well, you know, I'm going against the grain here, which is great. Go against the grain, do whatever you want, but it's another battle you don't have to fight, I guess. And I like that. Going to school saying like, hey, how was riding? You know, your teachers are into it, whatever. And it's like, it's funny. There's so many kids and come in with a click and they try to prove that they're hardcore, try to claim that it's like this hardcore thing. And it's like, it's just I don't get it because I know that I'm as hardcore as anybody because I've dedicated my entire life.
It's kind of weird to be like kids come into it and then like it's hardcore. Or can't be hardcore. I don't know if you can be hardcore after a year or two of being into it.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's not commitment. I mean, commitment is your life. That's the fullest commitment I can ever say that anybody could put into anything, and I know that I've given my life for it, and I know that you've given your life, and there's, you know, Matt Hoffman, Dennis, there's a lot of people that have been around. Ron Wilkerson that guy's given everything as well. He's given, you know, there's people that have given so much, and you got these young kids that got into it when all of a sudden now it's a trendy sport.
You know,
yeah,
like,
don't get on a bike and all of a sudden, you know, wear a button-down shirt and some, you know, hole in your knee and some jeans and say that you're hardcore and you're into it for different reasons. You don't want to make money. My ass, you know, money's a part of it. I didn't get into it saying I'm going to make money either because there wasn't any money in it.
Yeah.
I was, who cares? Do it. You know what? It's all about what you feel like at the end of the day.
sport's like big enough to where there's a lot of room for everyone to do. I mean, it
And there should be. There always should be anyway, and there always has been. But you know more than anybody. You remember back in the day, you ride up, you see a guy on an SE quad angle, and you're like, I don't care what he looked like, what he dressed like. He could have, you know, whatever, tennis shorts on, fucking up to his balls. But you know what? You were like, damn, dude, that's a sick bike. And it was just, it wasn't about how you looked or who you hung around with. And now I definitely feel way more vibes of just, they almost get this in their brain that, you know, I ride contests, ESPN, I'm untouchable, I'm this, that, and this, and it's not. Like, I'm unapproachable or whatever. No, I'm not at all, dude. You guys are down here hanging out for 4 days, and it's great, you know?
You had mentioned, like, about contests, maybe doing other contests this year. What do you think you're going to do for the next, like, this year coming up? Like, you've got this place, and a lot of, I don't know, do you want to do more contests? Do you want to ride the street more? Do you want to do more new tricks? Do you want to just see what comes of it, or what?
Like anything, I want to progress like anybody else, and progress at your own style or own way that makes you happy, not the way the sport necessarily is going. And it seems like, you know, contests definitely, it's like, I've got caught up in it too. Like, you think like, well, that's one trick. Oh, I got to learn that to keep up. And you kind of realize you're like, nah, you know what? Everybody's got their own style, and I don't care if there's people that do tricks and there's people that have good style. And you know what? There's no way to say that tricks are better than style, the way I see it, because I think style's awesome. I think tricks are awesome. I prefer a lot of style. I like to ride that feels good, whether I'm going up and doing a 1-footer and tweaking the bike out like a motorcycle. I don't care. If it feels good to me, I'm going to do it, and that's and that's what I love, whether it's a cool trick or not, you know. And there's a lot of guys that'll go back and forth and say that, you know, what's better. There's not a better way, and that's what's great about being individual, you know.
It's almost like an art form. Like,
exactly.
You can't have an art contest, you know.
Exactly. No, you can't. And you can't. But you know what? You know what's rad is that take contests for what they are. They've done a lot for me. They've definitely, and I feel I've done a lot for the sport by entering contests and doing interviews with a positive attitude. So parents can come and say, you know what, I want my kid to be like this kid, or like these guys. Not, you know what, dude, my son, I definitely know. Like in the beginning, back in the day, it was like they didn't want their kids to do this stuff because they thought we were all troublemakers. I mean, the first couple years of ESPN interviews were all, are you from a broken home? Were you in a lot of trouble in school? Like, it was like, No, I'm a normal dude. I just figured out what I love to do, and that's
Yeah.
what I set my goals at. I didn't want to be an accountant. You know, if I wanted to be an accountant, I would have went to school. Didn't want to do it, you know.
Right. What I saw Josh Harrington's video Against the Grain. You had a pretty decent video part in that. Is that kind of like a building stone, stepping stone? Maybe you want to try to do like a really super,
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
super like involved. Like you sit there and work on it and stuff. Or
Yeah, because you know that's the real first video part I've ever really said I want to do some stuff for this video part. But even then, I was only a couple week window period where I did it. I didn't just say let's just collect footage for, you know.
Right.
I think after going on Road Fools, I realized that a camera's a good thing because you can just go out and you don't have to do it like a contest. I've always been like, you know, contest mentality. You got to go out and do it, and you do it. You know what I mean? You don't try it 15 times. And I think I realized that, you know what, I'm gonna start taking some time and going out, and if it takes me 15 tries, who cares? You know what I mean? Don't just. So I started working on more of that a little bit.
I thought it was interesting, like on Road Fools, how we, like, definitely there was this. I don't want to say contest side versus like other side, you know, but like there was definitely something there, and we all like you rode pretty hard. You rode hard right away, and I think most of us were like because we don't. I don't ride contests, so I don't. I never like. You know, I ride for a bunch of hours, and then when it develops for me, not right away. How do you? I don't want to say. That's the contest mentality you're talking about.
But that's just the way I ride, though. If you notice, even coming here, I don't sit around and warm up for an hour and then start doing big stuff. I come out and I start riding. That's just the way I like to do it.
You seem pretty busy. Like you.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I got stuff to do. Let me just get this done and do it.
Coming home sometimes I'm more busy than being out of town. I mean, the Huck Jam tour was probably the most laid-back, relaxing trip I've been on, and it was a 6-week trip. But coming home, phone calls just come in. It's just maxed out, really. And it's like when I come to ride, I don't ride usually 6-hour days. I'll ride maybe a 2-hour day, take a break, come back for 2 hours, another hour and a half, whatever. But when somebody wants to film or do something, I come out and I just start hitting it because I don't like to procrastinate and think like, well, I know what I want to do, but I want to put it off for a couple hours because, you know what, I'm just going to think about what I want to do while I'm trying to warm up. And I figure, you know what, I have all my energy, I'm fresh, let's just start hitting it. And that's just the way I ride. And Road Fools, I'm definitely bummed on the way they edited the video. That really bummed me out because I know it, hanging out with all you guys and everybody, it didn't feel anything like the video. And it was like, maybe people got caught off guard a little bit, maybe the way I rode or how I warmed up or anything like that. But I said it in the first interviews. I said, this is their trip. I'm coming on to hang out. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to ride with everybody. And you know what? We get out of the bus and go ride street. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to roll around for an hour. Let's start hitting shit. You know what I mean? Like I'll grab something out of a dumpster. And I know maybe it caught even you off guard a little bit, but it wasn't a competitive issue at all. It was like, because then you look at at Primo when I wanted to go to the Supercross, I do a Fufanu, and I was riding. People were like, when I wasn't riding and I wanted to leave, people got bummed out. And then when I am riding, people got bummed out. I was like, you know, it's hard for me. Yeah. I think that the whole attitude of the trip maybe was that Dave Mirra and Road Fools instead of just Road Fools. And I'm on the trip and I'm just another kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I kind of hoped that. But I think there was probably so much built up to like, who really is this guy kind of thing. We see him on TV, but who really is, you know?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was too. Like we didn't really, I've never ridden like with anyone that really is a super big contest rider or just even from like here, so it's like, and you know you hear stuff from about Greenville and all that stuff. So
and people think this and that, and it's totally untrue, and that's what's crazy, and that's where the judgmental factor comes in. It's like, you know, I went on the trip, you know, obviously I've had, you know, I've heard and I've felt vibes from people that at a different end of the spectrum of the sport, but I went on the trip with a good attitude, you know, and I left with a good attitude. I had a good time just watching different stuff, and honestly, it motivated me. When I got home from Road Fools, I was like, dude, I got a lot of things I want to work on in different styles and not just focus on a certain couple of things that I do, like a box jump or whatever. And it's like, you know, I got psyched, dude. It was awesome. It was a great trip for me. And then when I saw the videotape, I was like, man, I didn't want to watch it. I was like, man, I watched it once and I was like, geez, I'm going to watch it one more time to see if I'm taking it correctly. And I wasn't psyched on the way it really turned out. But, oh well.
I had a good time on the trip. Like I was psyched that I thought we all got along pretty good.
I thought so too. I thought it was definitely an unpredictable trip. It was, you know, it was a lot of fun. We had some nights out that were fun as hell, and we had some riding sessions that were fun. You know, you know, so. And you know, honestly, anytime I ride with you guys rolling down here this week, if I can push you guys and motivate you, and vice versa, I love that. You know, we're coming down. I see you go for some stuff on the wall. I see sparks go for some stuff on the wall. Like, it was like, you know what, man, that's
I mean, that's all you
awesome.
could ask for in someone to ride with.
And
I don't know.
honestly, I've had some of the best sessions here since I've had the place. 'Cause I really haven't been home a lot, but it was like, I didn't plan doing half the stuff. When you guys came down, I was like, you know what? I'll just see what happens, and I'll probably just do some, whatever. I don't want to let them down or anything, but I'm just not feeling it right now. And honestly, just the vibe and the energy that was brought here was just, it made me want to just.
Let me say it. So how did you get to Greenville? Like, what made you come here? And
Crazy story, really. It's, my brother's girlfriend at the time, her family was moving to North Carolina. He was moving down. We're like, Tim, what are you thinking, dude? You moving all the way? We were bummed to see him go. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come down and see him. I came down a couple times, and he's like, Dave, there's a skate park right across the street from me. Like, right across the parking lot. You can see it from my apartment window. I'm like, really? I go, I'm going to come down. I came down. There's a small scene. Steve Nowak, Mike Mancuso, Tom McLeese, Chris Shelkoff. Small little group that, just as far as I consider, a little local scene. I never really met the guys before, never heard them. They were just, this was their own scene. They had a mini ramp, a box jump, and a sub box, and a street spine. I rolled down, I visited, I had a good time, I went home, came down again, and I wasn't riding. I just built a brand new half pipe in my dad's backyard up in Syracuse. Nobody was riding. It just wasn't right. It wasn't happening. And honestly, if I wouldn't have made it down here then, a lot of people that just got into the sport probably wouldn't even know my name, because I'd probably be still up there doing something totally different that wasn't in my heart. And that's what's crazy, is that I followed my heart. I missed it. I said, I'm not riding as much as I should be, or I used to. What am I doing? Am I giving up on this? I came to a point where I said, there's no way.
what year was that?
It was 94. I was in Syracuse. March 95, I moved here. My lease was up. I said, you know what? I'm moving down. I came down.
Who were you riding for at the point?
Harl. I started riding for Harl Bikes September 94.
Okay.
So they basically paid me a salary, so I was able to just say,
So
I'm
that's
moving
from
down.
94 to now? You
Yeah, still with them. And I rode for them for 87 too. Isn't that crazy? First sponsor ever, really. They gave me a free bike, was Harl Bikes, and
Nice.
so that's amazing to me that as a kid, as a flatlander, I got sponsored by Harl, and then came back around as a ramp rider. But it blows my mind. But I came down and I said, and this is what I said to myself, and the kids don't even understand. That's what probably kills me more than anything, is the kids don't understand the past of the sport, and they don't even realize that. They think, well, Dave Mirra sold out. He's in it for the money. He's doing this for this. He rides blah blah, and they babble and
You don't ride vert
they
for
just
money.
talk. What's that?
You don't ride vert for money unless you love it. Or,
Yeah,
unless
exactly. You don't go to the hospital, wake up, and go, man, dude, you got a big patch over your stomach. Going, yeah, it was your spleen. We had to take your spleen out. Okay, I'll heal and get back on my bike. But it's just funny how kids they just talk. You know what I mean? They just talk so much. And like, if they would just sit down and learn a bit about the past and realize that. I came to Greenville, changed my whole life. Boom. Okay, I was making just enough to live.
Committed, like kind of made a commitment to come.
Totally. But the most important thing was that I was riding every day with my brother and this small little tight group in Greenville. It was small. There was probably 4 contests a year. There was no ever hint of any ESPN. And kind of ironically, that first year, ESPN did the X Games in '95. And we even didn't know what was going to happen then. We went to the contest. We're like, they're probably just in it for the money. They're going to try to do this, whatever. Who cares, whatever. But I still went with a positive attitude. I did the contest. Next year there was going to be a whole series, Destination Extreme it was called. They did a whole 4 contests in the X Games. I said, you know what? I'm going to change the way. I'm not going to do do a run, sit on the top, roll in and try a hard trick, slam, get back up. I go, that's not how I'm going to ride. I'm going to do complete runs. I started out, if you go back to South Padre, Texas, the first Destination Extreme contest, you'll see I went out and just did non-stop, complete runs. Not the most insane tricks in the world, but they were hard tricks linked together without stopping. And that's what I said I wanted to do for TV. I said, you know what? Who knows what's going to happen here? We'll see what happens. But you know what? I'm gonna try to put on the best show I can.
Right.
And if for some reason it catches on, then you know what? I'm gonna.
Is that what? Because I went to in '97. I went to Rhode Island X Trials or something. Came over, I watched vert, and you're riding, and basically did, I think, everything on vert opposite, like all the lip tricks and everything. How did
I started messing around with that. I started messing around with opposite airs. Opposite airs in '98. Everybody did opposite airs even early years, but if you look back and review tapes, I started going 8-9 feet.
you did all opposite lip tricks too?
Yeah, I would do qualifying runs all opposite airs tricks in '98. It was funny. It was something where I was like, you know what, I like doing this, and it was a whole new thing for me because it was never really tapped into there's people that have done opposite airs, one-offs, but to go 8, 9 feet opposite, I didn't see it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start playing with this. And you know what, opposite airs felt better than regular airs.
Right.
I've done regular airs for years and years, and I said, okay, let's watch a skateboard vert contest. Okay, they're on a wide ramp, and we're sitting there going straight up and down in this corner. I was like, you know what, man, I just want to use it, and I still love to do it. I'll roll in, air, I'll opposite around, I'll get to this corner, I'll get to that corner, I'll come back over, I'll 540 that corner, I'll just go around the ramp and try to use the whole thing, and I think that's one thing I thought bike vert was lacking for a lot of years, and I just want to do it.
Ramps gotten a lot wider since then.
They really have, and you know what, and now that they are wider, use it. Use it. It just looks so much better.
Yeah.
It flows better, and not even, who cares about what people think? It feels insane to do an opposite air that, you know, it's like this. I know what an air feels like regular, what it's going to feel like off the lip. I know whether I'm on a bottom or what. Opposite airs for the longest time, I'd come in from a super high regular air and go, okay, let's see what's going to happen. I'd go off the lip and not know what's going to happen until I'm halfway up and going, okay, now I'm okay. Or what? It's funny, man. It was a mystery, and it was a question mark even after I left the lip. But I loved it. It was awesome.
What I mean, you just built, I don't know how big this place is, but like...
It's 15,600 square foot. It's got 35-foot ceilings.
How do you got?
The vert ramp's 100 foot wide with the resis and foam. Then I got a park course with foam. I got a lot of resi stuff. I did it just to push the sport a different way, and you know, foam. Yeah, I'll deep down inside, yeah, it may be a little bit of cheating because I know back in the day when I learned flips, we didn't have foam. We didn't have, you know, when I learned tail burrs on a vert ramp, there wasn't foam. When I learned 540s, there wasn't foam. Flares, I did it first try on our quarter pipe in Chicago, you know.
Really?
And it's rad because you know what? I mean, the adrenaline you need to do that, it's taken away a lot of that. And kids that learn in foam, yeah, they're not gonna feel what we felt when you sit up on a ramp going, you know, suicidal tendency would come on and I'd roll in and go, okay, well, I'm either gonna pull this and I'm gonna be a happy ass dude, or I'm gonna crash and probably go to the hospital and heal up. And that was my commitment. You know what I'm saying? So it blows my mind, and I think that a lot of kids don't even understand that. And I'm doing it now, and yeah, it loses a little bit, but you know what? It's so rad to just, you know, jump into the foam and try things that may never even work out and call it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't know it, like, if they were gonna, you know, not work out.
Yep. So now you can do it and not worry about if you got to go to the hospital. And you know, if I can ride till I'm 35 or 36 or 40, then well, why not? Because we've already put enough in for our life. And just everything that happens in the sport, anything that changes within our sport, people have a hard time. They get real like foam pit. Circus, man. And it's like, oh, man, don't ride it. But you know what? Don't bitch about it if you don't want to ride it. And people are, and they're learning stuff that you wish you could learn. Hey, if I learn something in the foam and I take it to a real ramp in a contest, I'm stoked. And there's a lot of other people doing it. Woodward Camp, there's a lot of pros living there. I mean, if you want to keep up with everybody, you got to play you ain't gonna go to a golf course and hit a drive as far as a guy with a titanium driver if you got some old wooden one, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, who cares? Progress with the times. Bikes are progressing, riding's progressing. Hey, if this is what's in, then, you know, I have no problem.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or?
Not really.
Okay.
My book, maybe. I don't know. Should I even say?
It's up to you.
I got a picture book that's coming out next year. Mark Losey's going to help me out with it. And, it's just kind of a I guess a graze over my life kind of stuff, you know, just kind of showing some past, and for kids to kind of learn about where I came from and what I've done my whole life, and maybe get more of a perspective of who I am, and not just see ESPN contests and say, I think we know Dave, because you don't get to know anybody from TV.